The circular economy is expected to grow to about 2.4 trillion US dollars by the year 2027. This is becoming a major driver of economic growth if well tapped. That is according to the World Economic Forum. And today on Base Check, we would want to focus on this conversation. Circular economy. What do we mean? What about this concept that is becoming a buzzword the world over? In Kenya, what are the legislations talking about the circular economy, the e-waste? And we have always heard about reuse and, of course, remanufacture. I'll be having Aaron Phillips in the studio. He's a cool guy, yeah? Because, you see, this is a man who has worked for one of the biggest companies in the world. I'm talking about Tesla. That's right. He has worked with one of the richest people in the world, and I'm talking about Elon Musk. So he'll be telling us something about Elon Musk that we do not know. So that is good enough for you to hang around. Plus, later on, we'll be looking at the upcoming African Climate Summit. That's right. It's happening here in Nairobi with more than 13,000 delegates converging where here in Nairobi. And the conversation in the next, in the 3 days will be around climate change and the role of Africa. Remember, sometimes in December, the Conference of Parties, or what we like to call the COP, is happening. This is the 28th, is going to be the 28th version of the COP meetings. And so the world is converging in Dubai. But before that, the Nairobi conference is also going to be big, because at the end of the day, there is what is going to be dubbed as a Nairobi Declaration on Climate Change. And my guest will also be here, and we'll be having a good conversation. I told you that we're on Base Check. This is what we do every Thursday. We bring you nothing but the best in terms of business coverage. Our reporters are on the ground. Remember, the Devolution conference started yesterday. Oh yeah. And today, big conversations will be taking around there on how counties can be positioned to become economic drivers as well as agents of economic change. We'll be keeping tabs on what's happening in Eldoret. And of course, remember the big debate around the charges to National Park. The Kenya Wildlife Service has come up with a new, I'm talking about new park entry fees. And this is causing a lot of debate in the public sphere. What are they talking about? We have our reporters who are keeping tabs of that. Well, my Twitter handle is @O'Brien Kimani. @KBC Channel 1 is our Twitter handle. And of course, we have Aaron Phillips. He's in the house. He's going to give us a little bit about himself. And of course, he was also going to touch around how does it feel to work for Tesla? And how does it feel to interact with the world's most richest person in the world? And I'm talking about Elon Musk. Recently, he bought Twitter and he rebranded it to X. Oh, yeah. Aaron.
Yes.
It's nice to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You were telling me that you just landed in Nairobi last evening.
Last night. Yeah.
It's your first time to be in Africa.
First time.
How does it feel to be back home?
Sorry. Yeah, I love Africa. You know, I always talk about the smell of Africa. The air's just better. It is. It absolutely is.
You serious?
100%. It's 100%. So I had to take a deep breath. Amazing. Amazing. No, but I definitely enjoyed. Just been here one night. I can't wait. I'm going to be here for about 6 weeks. So I'm going to get to know Kenya.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And this is a cradle of mankind.
Yes.
Welcome back home. Tell me things. I mean,
yes.
You've worked for Tesla.
I did.
You've interacted with Elon Musk,
yes.
You know, at a personal level. Tell us the experience of working for Tesla.
Tesla was, it was the shining jewel of my career. I mean, it was amazing. I was given the keys to the castle. They basically gave me a position that it wasn't founded. It was new. I had to bring in my own people. It was amazing. One of the toughest jobs I ever had. It was the worst and best 4 years of my life.
Very well.
Working for Tesla.
Working for Tesla.
Yes.
We'll be coming back for more because we want to go to the Devolution conference, which is happening in Eldoret. And right now, there is a panel discussion which is taking place. And we just now want to listen to the Cabinet Secretary for ICT and Digital Economy, Eliud Owalo.
We're looking at, if you look at the extension today in Kenya, we are operating on on a ratio of 1 to about 2,000 farmers. I mean, it's not possible. It can't work like that. What recommended is saying 1 to about 400 farmers. Then again, you look at the extension, I don't know, maybe most of them are also aging. They are also having very old tools and systems that they're using. So what is critical is that we have to do it differently. And perhaps we don't have to just employ extension people with the uniform the way we knew it in 1970s and 80s. This is where digitalization comes in. We have to digitize our extension. So this system is talking of e-extension, which is going to be able to bring the information onto apps, onto the mobile phones that we've talked about here. Communications Authority says they are going to have to avail this. So this will be available to the farmers' information on their handset, and they are able to use that information. The weather data, this is something that will be available to them. They'll be able to make decisions on when they are supposed to plant, and this is how the innovation there is going to help them. If you allow me 2 minutes, then again looking at that same thing, the market information, market intelligence. How will farmers be able to know when to sell? How will the consumers be able to know when to buy and where to buy? Because sometimes you've seen in this country where you have bumper harvest in part A, part B is suffering. We can avail this information through this particular system so that then we know where the market is and how the market trends are running. So they followed up, and that is benefiting everyone so that they maximize on their benefits. And also they will also know where to buy the inputs so that they also minimize on their cost of production. Last one on the same is we're now working with the World Bank to develop something that we call credit coding. The credit coding would mean what? Whenever you pick data, the routine data that we pick, this is good, but how does it help us? We need to move it now to transaction data, where we are able to have these farmers, we have their records, we can show what they are producing consistently and how they are doing it. At the end of the day, we can use that information, the banks can use that information to trust these people and even avail credit to them. That's what you need to do with the technology. That's what you need to do with this type of innovation. So this is a system that we're trying to work on, and we're building it now. The registration process will be actually over, and we will have registered all the farmers in this country in whatever corner they are, knowing what they're producing or what they're engaged on. Then we roll out the other modules of the system.
Thank you so much. You're raising a lot of issues that are making my head spin, because there's a lot of challenges that come when we're trying to roll out all this infrastructure and making sure that what you are talking about, even reaching the farmers, can actually become a reality. And I'll just want to pick on Mr. Chiloba, Director General Communication Authority, to share with us the challenges that they have faced when trying to deploy the Universal Service Fund projects.
Thank you very much, Fiona. Good morning, my colleagues, and of course, the leaders present here. If you want to understand the Universal Service Fund, I think the 3-minute video captures the spirit around the Universal Service Fund, which was basically a fund set up by government to ensure that when it comes to access to digital or ICT services, you have universal access. And universal access means that regardless of who you are, regardless of where you are able to access ICT services in equal measure. And that's why when you watch the video, you will see that our focus is largely on populations and areas that are unserved or underserved when it comes to ICT infrastructure and services. And that is supported by the legal framework. That's the Kenya Information Communication Act. Now, all is not rosy. And listening to colleagues here, we are talking about the dividends that come about because of ICT investments. But to get there is quite some journey. First, think about business continuity. When you have fiber cuts or those towers are being brought down, that means those services will not be accessible. And what we are seeing over time is that the supporting infrastructure is under risk. And we need to come up with a framework that protects the critical infrastructure supporting access to ICT services. For example, in the last 3 years, while we have spent taxpayers' money setting up towers in some parts of northeastern and the coastal part of the country, 30 towers being brought down by insurgents in that particular area. So 30 towers, it means that that investment goes to waste. So how do we make sure that we protect this critical infrastructure as we pursue universal access? The second bit is that we cannot effectively implement the Universal Service Fund projects if we do not have, for example, complementary infrastructure. Our responsibility is, for example, to set up a tower. But complementary infrastructure here, we require roads to access some of those critical sites. We require power to power the towers. And that responsibility lies everywhere, elsewhere. So you go to some parts of this country, go to Baringo, for example, the challenge of roads, the challenge around power is immense. And that kind of delays our work when it comes to implementation of Universal Service Fund projects. Now, thirdly, you have to think about availability of infrastructure, but the usage of that particular infrastructure is also a challenge. Why? Because, as my colleague from Safaricom mentioned, access to digital devices or smart devices is a problem in our country. We have up to 40% of Kenyans who do not have access to smart devices. And that hampers our ability to ensure that the investment that we've put in infrastructure is actually delivering dividends for ordinary citizens. The other bit, which may be relevant for this audience, is really the organization and coordination around the local leadership at the county level. Sometimes we tend to get mixed signals in terms of the leadership at the local level. While you invite us to come in your area to support some of these projects, we tend to get conflicting signals. You go to the ground, you want to engage the community, but the responses has always been negative. So the issue is, how do we coordinate better at the county level, looking at the office of the senator, the office of the members of parliament, the MCAs and the governor, working together as a team to be able to deliver value from the Universal Service Fund. So while there's opportunity to ensure that there is universal access through the Universal Service Fund,
Communications Authority of Kenya, Director General Ezra Chiloba, who is attending the Devolution conference there, addressing a panel discussion around the digital economy as well as ICT. We'll be going back there just to hear what kind of conversation is taking place there, and he's just making some very interesting revelations about the investment in ICT and of course tapping into the Universal Fund. That's a conversation that is taking place in Eldoret. Well, we'll be going back there just to hear for more. We are back in studio. Aaron Phillips is an e-waste expert as well as a circular economy guru. He's joining us here. He's from the United States. He has worked for Tesla, and he's going to take us through this interesting concept. Phillips, help us first of all understand, when we talk about e-waste management or the circular economy, as the whole concept is getting to be known, what exactly are we talking about?
So we were talking about responsibility from manufacturers. You make a product. A lot of times when it's happening with your product is you make it, end of life, goes away, There's no responsibility from the manufacturer to what happens with the actual device. It just goes somewhere. In a circular economy, you think about what's going to end up happening at the end of life. And the best case scenario is that you're able to take that same product and reintroduce it into another product, to reuse it some way, somehow. That's the perfect world of a circular economy. Unfortunately, or fortunately, there are certain companies or certain countries that believe in circular economy more than others, and there's some that have no idea what that even means. You know, and I think that our job as environmental people, sustainability people, is to get that education, understand, and get the companies to understand that it's very important, you know, to want to have a circular economy, you know, especially for your product.
You see, in every new idea, because the concept of circular economy is not that very old, you know.
No.
It's about 10 to 15 years. And so naturally, I mean, you'd have people who are leading, or you'd have countries that are leading,
Absolutely.
that are in the middle, or that are, at the tail end of the pyramid. So who would you say in the world is leading in e-waste and circular economy concept?
So Europe, definitely. I mean, when I worked for Tesla, we were, one of my responsibility was the Netherlands. We had a reman facility in the Netherlands, and Europe by far they had conferences on circular economy. Unfortunately, the United States it's not a priority. It's not a priority. Now, we have regulations on e-waste. There's e-waste regulations on how you have to manage your e-waste, but there's not a focus on circular economy. That was one of the things that when I was at Tesla, I was like, I had an individual that was an expert on circular economy. We really didn't get very far because, again, there isn't a movement, I guess you could say, around circular economy. So Europe, without a doubt, they
Europe,
believe
without
in
a
it.
doubt.
Germany, like I said, the Netherlands, they have mandates for cars, for instance. When manufacturers, they have to be able to dispose of the battery properly. There's certain engines and whatnot, components of cars that they say has to be put back into. So it just can't go somewhere, can't go landfill, can't just throw it out. There's a lot of regulations, but Europe, without a doubt, they're far ahead.
They're far ahead.
Far ahead of the game.
Where is Africa?
You know what? I'm learning. I don't know, to be honest with you. That's one of my trips. The reason why I'm out here is to learn a little bit about Africa. I don't know much about Africa. I don't know much about the e-waste. I have a lot of individuals that I know in the industry that have done business in Africa. Some people, my Indian friends, but I don't know much. I'm learning. Brian, that's the reason why I'm here. I wanted to see what Africa looks like.
And so when you say that Europe is leading in these in this endeavor, to try and embrace the circular economy concept, and of course to deepen e-waste management, so what have they done right that the rest of the world is yet to catch up with?
Yeah, it's just common sense. I mean, if you think about a circular economy, it doesn't make sense that if you make a product that you should be socially aware that eventually that the product that you make is going to have an end of life. So they've been very progressive on making sure that their manufacturers have regulations around circular economy and in different industries. The government they're very, very supportive of these types of regulations because, again, it's the right thing to do. And then the people, anything that's unusual or something that's new to someone, you have to be able to explain what's the value. Why is it important for me to manage my computer when it's end of life? Why is it important? Explain the issues of if you landfill a computer, the toxic chemicals that get released from the actual computer will be harmful to the environment, your water, the wildlife. So I think they've done a really good job in selling their people how important this is. So it's a lot easier to put a regulation out or say, hey, you have to play by these rules when you have the people say, yeah, this is what we want.
And so if that is what Europe is doing, then the rest of the world, what then lessons can we pick from Europe? And then we domesticate these lessons and we rework them to suit our needs?
Yeah. I think the lesson is that it's the right thing to do when it's all said and done. I fall back to my time at Tesla, and I would tell my team, when you get stuck, it's the right thing to do. What we're doing is the right thing to do. And I can't be any more clear. Anytime that if I'm coming to Africa, one of the things, or I'm in Africa now, one of the things I'm going to do is make sure that I talk to the leaders. So like what this gentleman was saying, in the conference over here, it's about, you can have all these metrics, you can have all this great, amazing data, but what does it mean to that one guy that's, as he said, they were knocking the polls down or whatever? What does that mean to him? How does that affect his life? Those numbers, because they're just numbers to him. You have to go to that individual and say, hey, look, this is how it's going to help you, your generation, and a generation down the line. This isn't all about right now, because right now we're in the infant stages of, again, as you say, circular economy, sustainability, all that. So how is that going to help me, my generation, the next generation, the generation after that? That's what it is. Because I can sit up here and dazzle you with all these great numbers and this sustainability, this and that. But how does that affect me? How does it affect you? How does it affect your children, their children? How does it affect them? That's where you have to change that mindset. Because I can, like I said, I can write all these regulations, say you got to do this. But if I believe it, you believe it, your viewers believe it, it's going to change. Things will happen.
And what lessons did you learn, during your time at Tesla on the circular economy and e-waste management that you believe can be embraced here in Africa and help in driving or deepening e-waste management?
I think at Tesla, I worked at Tesla from 2013, 2017. We weren't proven. There was calls that I would make, and people had never even heard of Tesla. I'm sure you never heard of Tesla in 2013. Most people didn't hear of Tesla. What was instilled in my head was we're changing the world. The things that we're doing is we're changing the world. We're changing an industry, an industry where automotive is driven by petrol, oil. We're changing that. We're changing the way that the environment, is affected by the things that we're doing. The lesson that I learned was it's important to understand the effects that it has on a generation. Elon, I many times would say that he's not worried about right now. Right now, he spent a lot of money to build infrastructure and everything. He was focused on the next generation. He was focused on how do we change the carbon emissions. And again, it wasn't focused. I'm not going to say he was focused like every day he thought about it, but he knew that would be the byproduct of the circular economy, the processes that we were introducing. So it was, I had some awakening, I guess you could say, about circular economy and e-waste and whatnot. I definitely saw a different light working there.
Very well. I want to hold your thoughts. That will be coming back because it's time now for us to go to the Nairobi National Park, where the Validation Forum on Review of National Parks, Reserves and Sanctuaries Conservation Fees is currently underway. And your input here is very, very important because it is going to impact how much you pay to enter to national parks, sanctuaries and conservation places. So let's first of all listen in.
Providing unparalleled convenience for visitors worldwide. Lastly, colleagues, your insights as representatives of our visitors, partners and communities are invaluable. We eagerly await your active participation, enriching this forum with your vast experience and perspective. With that, colleagues, I am honored to declare this validation forum officially open. I think I don't want to open further. Let us all see what the teams have prepared, and then we engage into an active discussion. And as we get into that, I'll give you an experience that I had with my board when I took them for the second retreat that I took them to Mombasa. When we were about to enter Mombasa Marine Park, we agreed that let us pay our conservation fee. And all of them were very eager how much they are going to pay. And they looked around, and one of them said, is it $130? I told them, no, it's 130 shillings. For who? For children. And adults, 215 shillings. Then I told them, don't worry, I am going to sort it out. And we took our boat. I personally paid for that community boat. Somebody might be, was it 10,000 or it was 15? It was 15, sir. I had paid 15,000 for the boat for my 7 boat members. And we had a guide who we are going to pay. So we went, we saw very nice seagrass. We were welcomed by sea turtles. We went into the Paradise Island, to Addis Ababa, and the boat really enjoyed. And along the way, one of the board members asked me, DG, really, do you think if I was coming with my children here, and I am told I'm going to pay 130 shillings to access this beautiful place, in the first place, I'll ask myself, where am I taking my children? 130 is not even $1. So they said, your pricing has a problem. Have you done enough public participation? Are you sure what we are seeing here, these very nice places, are worthy 130 shillings? Less than $1, Mohammed. Then the next bombshell came in. They asked me, you're telling us you have a deficit of 2 billion shillings. Really? That was after we visited the suburbs, and they
Well, sorry for that freeze on air. You definitely know that it's cold in Nairobi, and you know, some of these natural elements, they affect the signals. But that is the Acting Director General of Kenya Wildlife Service, Erastus Kanga, there, speaking during that validation workshop on the new proposed entry fees rates for national parks, sanctuaries, as well as national reserves. We'll be giving you more updates because our reporters are on that beat. We're in the company of Aaron Phillips. He's an e-waste management and sustainable green energy expert. He has worked for Tesla, among many other companies. He's in Kenya, and he's helping us navigate this interesting concept of a circular economy and what Africa can learn, and more specifically Kenya, from the rest of the world. Phillips, you talked about, you know, your stint in Netherlands, and Netherlands is always getting awards for one of the most green economies in the world, and you know, the world has a lot to learn from how they are doing things. Are there lessons that you picked up there which you feel, you know, can help Africa and specifically Kenya, you know, in e-waste management, green energy, as well as circular economy? Right.
Yeah. So they're very progressive in making sure that they hold the industries, you know, to task. And it's built in their culture, though, so it's more of a culture thing. I think a lot of times when we want to make changes, we want to make it think about it as being a cultural change. When the people in the Netherlands grow up, they know that they dispose of their food waste in a certain container, and it goes to a place that they compost it. Same thing with the recycling. Same thing with, you know, their actual trash. They understand what real trash is. So they're very, very, very progressive. Most of the countries, and again, a lot of the countries in Europe, I mean, they ban landfill. So they don't landfill anything. It goes to waste energy, or again, they're mandated. They mandate the people, and this is what the people want. This people.
Wait a minute. You're trying to say that they don't have landfills in Netherlands?
A lot.
Everything is sorted.
So I wouldn't say they don't have any landfills, but in many European countries, they have none. They don't have any landfills. It's waste energy a lot. I can't give you the exacts, but yeah, no, they're not big on landfill. And you think about it, landfill is probably the worst way of disposing of trash, unwanted items, because of the breakdown, the chemical breakdown that happens when you landfill things. So they understand that. It's common sense. A lot of what they say, what they do, it's just common sense, and it's built in who they are, as people.
And you're saying that the reason why they're here, or they are where they are today, is because of, number one, proper regulations.
Yes.
And number two, civic education.
Yeah.
And number three, setting up the right infrastructure for the public to know that this waste goes into this bin, this goes into this trash bin. How then can we implement these here at home?
That is a great question, amazing question, and that's it right there in the nutshell. Everything that you just said is the reason why either countries, states, whatever you want to say, don't get it. When you the way I look at it, and the reason why I started Green Earth Sustainable Solutions is because I learned at Tesla that if you don't have a process, you don't have the process put in place, you could have all the great intentions in the world. You put signs up saying, hey, use this or this. If you don't have the infrastructure set up to not only on the front end, train the people, explain to the people why it's important to do it a particular way, and then set the services up to where now the services say, okay, the green bin is for compost, the blue bin is for mixed recycling, the brown bin or the black bin or whatever is for trash or whatever it is, but then have the education part of it, the part that says, okay, guys, this is why we do it, and here's how you're going to do it. Okay, so it's about getting the people to buy in. Obviously, that's the first thing, and then make it easy for them. Don't set them up for failure. You're set up for failure when you say do something, but then you don't have either the government or you don't have the support to do what they're asking you to do. And that's the biggest part of the sustainability, about zero waste. So what I do is I teach people, I teach companies, I teach individuals why it's important. First, that's the first thing I do is I teach them why it's important to do it, and then how do you do it? How do you get there? It's like okay, I know why this is important. So how do I get there? This is how you get there. And I think that's one of the things that's built into, again, to say the Netherlands or the Dutch industry, they get that. And business is set up that way too. They understand that that's the culture. They know when they do business there, this is how you do business. Here's a container. It's all regulated, but it's not regulated in the sense that in a negative way. It's for the right reason. This what they're doing, the right. That's why they won all those, like you say, they won all those awards, because the people understand it's for the right reason.
I like the fact that you are appreciating this notion that in Africa, this whole concept of the circular economy, waste management, waste management and so on, it is still a nascent industry. It is yet to take root. And a lot of concentration has been on Europe, on some parts of Asia and some parts of North America. And so somehow it looks like Africa is catching up. But how then do we accelerate the adoption of our policies on e-waste and circular economy here in Africa?
You know what? This is going to sound crazy, or maybe it's not. But it starts with our youth. I mean, the young people, teaching the young people, because again, it's about generational change when you want to change anything. Really, when you think about it, I always call myself an old head. Okay, old heads like me, we're kind of stuck the way we did things. It's kind of like when I would train someone that was my age, they're like, it is what it is. The younger people are excited. They're like, okay, yeah, they're looking for something. They're looking for something that's going to make them stand out, that's a little different, and care. There's so many young people that care. So if we train our youth, we train the young people to understand that the circular economy is important. And I know it's difficult sometimes when you're struggling. That's the thing about trying to make a change. It's like, hey, how do you expect me to use the right container when I'm barely feeding my family, or I don't have a job, or whatever the situation is? Well, again, it's a mindset. It's getting, again, I say the youth, getting them to understand this is important to get that cultural change. I mean, honestly, I can go anywhere in the world and I can grab, a child and teach them about zero waste, teach them about circular economy. And I guarantee when they get 7, 10 years, 20 years down the line, this just becomes who they are. As they breathe air, it's the same thing. They'll start thinking like, hey, it's important not to landfill food. It's important not to take our phones and throw them in the trash because this is what happens. So it's that education that we all know is super important. We got to have education. But it's also knowing that this is the right thing to do. It's the absolute right thing to do. Just like eating's the right thing to do, finding a job's the right thing to do. Well, you know what? Circular economy, green industry is the right thing to do for this environment and for yourself.
And I like the fact that you're bringing in the issue of young people into this concept because, I mean, obviously, the future is theirs.
Absolutely.
And when you look at the growth of a human population is expected to be about 20% by the year 2050. But the same growth of waste is expected to be more than 3 times the growth of human beings. The human population, sorry. And so this is going to be a challenge, going forward. And so then how do we inculcate and deepen the culture of waste management among young people?
Yeah, that's a great question. Very, very amazing question. One of the reasons why I'm in Africa is I heard a study that talked about the growth, the population growth I think it was 20 or 30-year-olds that in Africa it was going to grow 20%, 30%. I don't know the exact number. So there's going to be a lot of young African people that are going to be contributing to carbon, the carbon footprint. They're going to be contributing to the economy. They're going to be contributing to a lot of things. My thought was when I came out, my reason to be here in Africa is to understand how it is, because everybody's like, oh, you're from the United States. You don't know how it is in Africa. You don't know this. You don't know that. But what I know is I know people. And again, I know young people. And young people, you give them a reason to get motivated. You give them drive. You show them, like a guy like me who grew up the way that I grew up. I grew up poor. I was the poorest person in the United States, But I always had that mindset that I was going to be successful. That's what we need to do with our kids. So we do that with our children, and then they adopt they adopt the good things. They see the good things, the things that are happening around the world that are good, and they learn that they can do this. This is something they can do on a small level. It starts on the community, that small thing, that first step. It starts with that. Not big, come in with these huge plans. No, it's this little bit. We're going to start a little recycling group in our community. So we're going to start recycling all the aluminum cans. We're going to take food waste. We're going to make compost in our community. And then we grow that bigger. Maybe we start an industry. Again, I'm hoping to I want to find out what the industries look like here in Kenya and see if there's some way that I can help. Because again, we're in the United States. I mean, we have everything. We know all the equipment, the processes, we have the contacts, we have everything. And for me to be able to take some of that knowledge that I have, and then especially work with these children and adults, older adults, anybody that really cares, that wants to be part of the movement, hey, that's why I'm here.
And you're talking about, first of all, having the right mindset.
Definitely.
And ready to embrace a different mind shift.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Yeah, it's funny. I started a nonprofit in the United States. It's called DPX. So it's funny that you brought. It's a great question. But so my nonprofit, it teaches people, whoever it is, any age, that you can do anything that you want. It doesn't matter where you came from. If you grew up in the slums, it does not matter. Because the thing about life, right? Here's the thing: no one can control the way you think. You can be put in jail, locked up, but you have your thoughts. They could beat you. You still have your thoughts. If you're taught at a young age that just because you grew up in the slums and you grew up in the ghettos, that you are strong, that you're rich in knowledge. Okay, maybe you don't have the money, maybe you're not living there, right? But you're going to get there. DPX for me, and I established this organization, is that I tell people, have a dream. Write your dream down. Put your dream down, whatever it is. It'd be a big dream. You want to work for Elon Musk? That's what your dream is? You write that down. Then you put a plan together. You write a business plan. I'm a businessman. So you write a business plan, a personal business plan. You check all the boxes on your business plan, okay? Your whole life. So if you're a 7-year-old, you get your DPX. You write your dream down. At 7, you write I want to be a fireman. So you write that down. I want to be a fireman. And then you write down what it's going to take to become a fireman. And then here's the thing, right? You have to think about it every day. That's the key to changing the way people think about anything, or change the way that they think about stuff. You have to think about what your dream, what your goals are every day. You can't wake up just because you're getting bullied, say, and I'm getting bullied, so now I'm going to forget my dream. No, I used to get bullied all the time, but in my mind, I knew I was going to be successful. So I didn't care. I knew these bullies were going to come work for me one day. I knew that. I knew that one day that they would work for me. So as a kid, growing up, having that mindset that you're going to be successful, you have that dream, you can interpret that, you can bring that in any industry that you have. I used to teach my managers DPX, concept of DPX. Write the dream down, put a plan together, that's the P, and then when it's all said and done, when you got it all done, you execute it. So the E, it's a play on execute. We put the X in there, DPX. That's it.
Whoa. And
you move it on. And I'm telling you, it's powerful. I have so many examples, even in my life, where my DPX got me to Tesla. It got me to the Department of Energy, working for the Department of Energy, for one of the largest metal recycling companies in the United States. I became CEO of the company, did some major things. But it was always this right here, right? Always this. It was always the mindset that I had.
The mindset.
The mindset.
And the mind shift.
Absolutely. The mind shift. That's better. The mind shift. Get you from thinking, just because you grow up poor doesn't mean that you have to be poor. It doesn't matter if you don't need all the Instagram and all the stuff that you see on TV, people, that flossing and everything. You see all this stuff, you want to go out and make the money and do all this stuff. That's nonsense. That's all bull. That's just...
No, don't say that on TV.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's nonsense. That's how I am, bro. I'm sorry, man. I'm straight. I'm straight like that.
I understand you come from a different cultural background.
Absolutely. So I apologize.
Here in Africa, we don't curse.
Say no more. Say no more. I got you. I'm learning.
Let's now shift, our focus now to green energy.
Yes.
And I'm sure you know these that you are in Kenya and you're in a country that is planning to shift all its power generation to green sources. Currently, we are doing about 82% of our electricity is coming from green sources, and so there's nothing new here, or there's nothing there's no reason to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
So what then do we need to do to accelerate the push to green energy?
I think it's just give examples of why it's important. I know there's a lot of, so again, with going back to my Tesla days, it was always the drive that we're going to make the world sustainable. It was getting them to think that, Elon he invested the money, he got the investors, he set the infrastructure up, he spent a lot of money, even though it wasn't sure if it was gonna pan out. He knew it was, but the industry wasn't sure if it was gonna pan out. What needs to continue to happen is just, again, explain why it's important to have sustainable energy. Right now, if you think about it, when you power an electric car, most of the energy in the United States is probably 50% from coal, from some dirty coal industry. And then you say to yourself, how do you justify making a car that needs electricity from a coal generator? Well, how you justify that is that it's baby steps. Right now, they set the infrastructure up. Our government now is very progressive in renewable energy, the wind. They give discounts if you have solar panels at your house. Like when you buy a solar panel, when you buy an electric car, there's discounts that do it. So again, the government, it's great that they're thinking this way. And I think that it's like once you get past all the noise, because there's a lot of pushbacks. There's a lot of people say it's a waste of time, a waste of money. But once you get past all that and you start seeing the benefits of it, because that's what's going to happen. People want to see the benefits of now the air is cleaner. Now that there's less pollution that's out there because that we're getting more sustainable. But it's baby steps. This is the infant stage. We're starting. This is where the beginning of it is. We're not even halfway there yet.
You're from San Jose?
San Jose, by San Francisco.
That is out of San Francisco. This is in California.
California, correct.
And there's something that I captured, and you talked about the air is very different
right.
here. What exactly does that capture?
So I think because it's so populated in many cities in California, say, at one time, LA was one of the most dirtiest, polluted, cities in the world because of the air emissions. So what
it actually is, even in the United States.
Yeah, absolutely. But what happened was California came in and said, you know what, we're going to put regulations on top of the federal regulations. So now we regulate the car emissions. So your car has to pass a background check every year just for you to maintain it. So what it's done is clean the air up, dramatically. Now, again, it's just a drop in the bucket, but it was a step. When you used to go to LA 20 years ago, when you looked around, the skies, it was smog everywhere. You see smog. Now, flying into LA, it's clear. It's cleaner. The air is cleaner. I'm not saying it's as clean as the air here in Africa, but it's cleaner. I think that as again the population grows, as we talked about, that's going to be so important. There's going to be more cars that are out there. So if you have more sustainable cars, then you're not going to have the pollution that that you'll see increase with population.
And I like the fact that you appreciate that the air quality here in Kenya is crispier.
Absolutely.
It's more cleaner.
Yep.
And I'm sure your lungs are happy.
I got off the plane breathing good, man. Just
you breathe in and
knowing
you breathe
that
out.
People had said that. They said, hey, the air is cleaner.
That is something that people here are yet to appreciate and embrace, that our environment is very critical to the air we breathe and the quality of life that we live here in Kenya. And so what do we need to do, to maintain that level of air quality, bearing in mind that we are just a growing economy? Yeah. You're having so many people, buying vehicles, buying a green gas emitting, gadgets. And what then do we need to do to ensure that we retain and maintain our air quality as it is now, if not better? Yeah,
so I like to use examples like one of my responsibilities was China. So I went to China and worked, Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen. I was in China. And one of the it was like an unspoken rule, but when you flew into Shanghai, you literally took you a day because of the pollution to feel better. Your lungs just have to get used to how dirty things were. I remember one time I got really sick. One day I was there, I almost missed a meeting. So, if you witnessed this, and felt this and understand that, when a population grows like China's population grew, dramatically in 20, 25 years, that easily can happen anywhere in the world. So yeah, so maybe Kenya isn't as populated as, say China or the United States, but as that think about all the garbage and the trash and everything that's being generated by an individual. Now, when we multiply that by 20, 30%, that's something that we have to plan for, and that's very, very important. How we get there, again, it's education. It's understanding this is the right thing to do, guys. This is what we need to do. But it's also the government giving you the resources, giving the not just so much the regulation, more the support that says, hey, this is what we have to do to take our country to that next level.
Very good. Aaron, let's now go back to Eldoret. We'll be coming back with more conversation. We are in the company of Aaron Phillips. Our conversation this morning is around sustainable green energy and e-waste management, as well as the circular economy concept. The Devolution conference, which is taking place in Eldoret in U.S. Ngesho County, is currently underway. Our reporter there is Wycliffe Okech. He's having a conversation with the peers for broadcasting. This is Professor Kisiangani. Let's first of all listen into that conversation, and then we'll come back and end up this conversation with Phillips.
Thank you so much, and good morning to you, O'Brien Kimani. We are, of course, coming to you live from Eldoret Sports Club here in Uasin Gishu County. this is, of course, the third day of the conference, Devolution conference, actually. And today, the first sub-theme for the conference here, we are talking about the digital economy, how the country can harness the digital economy actually for the economic growth. And right with me, here with me is the PS for Broadcast and ICT, that is Professor Kisiangani. Just to briefly summarize for us, there has been a panel discussion, actually an elaborate panel discussion involving the sector stakeholders. And with me here is, of course, Professor Kisiangani. Briefly, Prof, maybe if you may just summarize for us what has been the ways actually that have been discussed during that panel discussion on ways, the ICT can be involved in the county government or the devolved sector.
I think there are many things that we have canvassed here. As you say, that this government takes very seriously the whole question of devolution, and we think that most services in government are in devolved units. And one of the wagons for moving this devolution is the ICT sector. ICT must be in every county to move things to the next level. We need that for collection of revenue. We need that for keeping the water bills low. We need the ICT to make sure people do business, government jobs. As you saw, the president, the ICT minister was very clear. He said that, county governments will continue working with us to just help them to digitize, to make sure that all their services are digitized and enhance their revenue collection. That will be a very good thing for them, because most of them are underperforming. But also critical is the fact that, as you saw from the governor from Elgeyo Marakwet, is the fact that we also expect counties to do certain things that will promote the process. One of them is they should do this blanket way leave, so that companies which are operating in this sector can lay the infrastructure without necessarily being overtaxed. Some of them have really been raising taxes every other time, and I think this is being discussed at high levels. But there is also the question of protecting the infrastructure once it is laid. This is critical infrastructure, and if we don't protect it, it means that every other year we shall be spending a lot of money to again lay fresh infrastructure when we should be moving forward. So counties are really a critical part of this government. At national level, we want to promote the activities by just doing the necessary legislation that will help them move without having any obstacles here and there. But also at their own level, they also need to make sure that they embrace technology to do business. They embrace technology to do agriculture. They embrace technology to do medicine, serve people. You saw there was an argument from one of the governors saying that, the money for medicine from the KEMSA, so you would never be sure whether medicine has arrived in the counties once it leaves the KEMSA stores. But now with the digitization, you can know exactly what consignment left, and then you must receive what left. So this kind of thing is going to improve the quality of service, reduce corruption, and make sure that our people are involved to create jobs and so to improve their quality of life also. So there are quite a lot of things that came up here, and we in the ICT sector are ready. We are helping through the infrastructure, but we're also going to help to lay to create forums where we can do digital skilling, especially at county level. Some counties are better than others. We have already done the mapping, and we think we should be okay. But overall, the digital agenda is big business, because that is where many jobs are. That's a platform of jobs. That is the platform for reducing distance between communities, reducing distance between countries, and that is where we want to go, and we shall support that exercise very well. His Excellency the President is very, 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 very passionate about this. His government is based on this platform. He wants to promote the digital economy, and the digital economy is not occurring at national government level. It is occurring in the counties. So that's where we are, and we are looking forward to a very fruitful discussion here. We hope that other participants will also do well to promote and also to suggest ways in which we can improve this platform and other platforms, because we all believe in one whole government, and we think we shall move to the next level very, very easily. And Kenya can only be better. It can only get better. It can never get worse.
If we talk about some of the devolved sectors, agriculture is also is a part of that. And one of the issues that was raised during the panel discussion is how digitization and technology can be harnessed to improve extension services down at the devolved levels. What are some of the strategies?
The strategy is that once people have smart enabled phones, and you are living in what used to be called quote unquote remote places, you can call the extension officer, you can call the agricultural officer, the veterinary officer to come and attend to your cow. If it doesn't feel well, then it is treated, because you can get, but also you can do first aid using the phone. The officer who is supposed to attend to you, if he's very far away, he can give you some tips on what you can do about your cow, your livestock, so that by the time he arrives or they arrive, they find that you have already done first aid. Because of digitization, then they can attend to the rest of the things. But in terms of digitization also, it's possible for even government officials themselves to map out where services are needed most, where our agriculturalists, where do they stay, and what in some places that we may not get the money immediately to put up roads. But then, if the extension officer is able to talk to you in your own house, you ask now, how do I improve my farm? You can see my farm. You can do a WhatsApp and check, this is my farm. Do you think I'm doing very well here? Do you think these crops are right? You can still talk to these extension officers, and they give you the information without necessarily them taking a motorbike, riding on a motorbike or a vehicle. That saves fuel, it saves time. So that is part of the strategy we have. By increasing the digital, enhancing the digital space, then you know very well that a lot of people will be reached without necessarily having physical contacts. That is what we are reducing. And of course, these extension officers, if they have a cold, they will not fear to come to your house because they are talking to you virtually. So this is what we are looking at. And those strategies should work. But you also, in the villages, you will need even our own grandmothers and mothers, those who have no digital skills, to be given basic digital skills so that they can get in touch with the extension officers. And in the process, we'll move to the next level.
And finally, as we summarize this, the safety of data has featured there prominently. We have the Office of the Data Commissioner, and how safe is the digital data also at the county level?
I think you can see that counties don't operate in isolation. The National Data Bank is at one place. We have several data banks across the country, and the counties don't operate in isolation. So we always help counties to secure their data, but that security is connected to the national grid on data protection. So they have no problem to worry about. It's not like, they are operating in silos. If you go to the National Data Center, you'll find data for Uasin-Gishu, you'll find data for Bungoma, you'll find data for Trans Nzoia, you'll find data for Nandi. So all we need to do is, at county level, we need to enhance security systems so that if they are using that data at county level, nobody pirates it or accesses it. People who are not authorized should not access that data and misuse it. But I think the national infrastructure for data protection is in place. And that does not mean that we are not going to get attacks here and there. These attacks will come. They are all over the world. First of all, Kenya is a very attractive country, and people like to come here and check what we are doing. But in terms of protecting our data, it is safe. And we shall keep making it even safer with the new challenges coming in, new crooks coming on the stage. We shall do that, and it's going to be very, very okay. So we assure the nation that the issue of data protection shouldn't worry them. I think they should worry about increasing food production on the farms, increasing milk production on their farms, and also caring about how they can access digital jobs. But the data protection thing, let them leave it to us. We shall do it.
Thank you so much, Professor.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yes. O'Brien, that is Professor Kisiangani, the ICT and Broadcast PS, talking to us about how digitalization and actually the digital economy can be harnessed actually also at the devolved units, all in a bid to digitize every sort of aspect to ensure that the country also goes digital in every aspect. While you see, we are talking about the devolution, and we are also living in a digital age, and that's also a challenge to the devolved units actually to take advantage of some of the digital aspects that the national government has put forth to ensure that service delivery to the common wananchi down there is improved. While this is a conversation that doesn't stop, we'll be able to engage the professor more of air, and also we'll be on the ground for more other stories. But for now, Brian, let me hand it back to you in studio for the continued discussion. Brian.
Very much Wycliffe there in Eldoret, having a conversation there with the PS for broadcasting, Professor Edward Kisiangani there. He's just telling you this. Don't get worried about the security of your data. The government is on top of it. Get worried about how to increase your food production, how to improve on your productivity, and then leave the issues of data protection and data security to the government, because it is more competent to deal with that. And talking about competency, we're in the company of Aaron Phillips. He's very competent on matters sustainable energy as well as circular economy. We're almost coming to the conclusion to the tail end of this conversation. But Aaron, before I allow you to leave, and so when you look and when you scan the horizon, where do you see the circular economy and the e-waste and the green and sustainable energy?
Yeah, I see opportunities. Just like in the United States, there's one of the fastest growing sectors is green technology. The government is really pushing it. There's jobs that have been created, green jobs, good green jobs. I see the same thing here. I mean, if you think about it, if you set a windmill up, you got to be able to maintain the windmill. Just like solar farms, the power grid, everything has to be maintained. Those are jobs. Those aren't AI jobs. Those are jobs, like real jobs that individuals have to go out and perform. So I see green initiatives here in Africa as an opportunity. I mean, there's guys like myself that understand the value of, say, e-waste or managing e-waste properly. There's value there. There's values in the chips. You can reuse the chips. You can melt down the components and pull out all the precious metals that are out there, and do it in a sustainable manner, not just light it on fire, burn it, and pull it out, and you're polluting all this pollution, but do it in a sustainable way. I think the sky's the limit in Kenya. Again, it's just changing the mindset, getting the information out to the people to make sure they understand why it's important to have the towers or the communication or what they're doing, or building the infrastructure around that.
You're telling me that you are here on two missions.
Yeah.
Number one, to listen. Yeah. And listen to the voices on the ground. And number two, to learn lessons, and of course, ensure that the lessons that you have also learned in the past, you're going to leave them with the local communities. How do you plan to do that?
So my company, Green Earth, I'm going to build an office here, put an office here in Kenya. I'm going to work with the community leaders. I'm going to reach out to them on this mission. I'm going to be reaching out to people who think like me, that think green, and hear some of the challenges and understand what the industry is at. I'm not looking here to start a business and take over anything. My service, or what we do, is we work with other companies, other recyclers, other people that are in our industry. We work with them, we team up with them, we partner with them. I want to come in here and just help build. It's not this profit that I'm looking for. Honestly, it's more just to say, what can we do? We're very successful in the United States. Our company's it's growing. I have some great people. Now, for me personally, this is a personal challenge. This is my DPX. This is the thing that I dream, that I'm planning for, that I'm going to execute. Okay, this has nothing to do with financial gain or anything like that. I think that the more that I can bring my expertise, the 40 years that I've been in the environmental industries, I've done this, since basically high school, and bring that here, bring it to Africa, that to me is worth more than any kind of money that I could get paid for anything. So that's what I plan on doing.
And your entry point to Africa is going to be through Green Earth?
Through Green Earth and through DPX and through my dyslexia, group that I work with. I'm the international ambassador for dyslexia.
Very well.
Yeah. So
good.
Yeah.
I'm sure at some point we'll also have to touch base and see where this conversation is going, and of course what the future holds for you and your company, and of course on the issues around circular economy and sustainable energy.
Can I mention my website, so if anybody wants to get any more information on like you said, circular economy or anything like that, can I mention my website?
That's fine.
Yeah, so www.gssinc.com. That's my that's our website. So if you go to that, check us out. I have some ambassadors from the United States. I had some ambassadors from Kenya, Tanzania, and Nigeria that I've sponsored that had some amazing stories, some things that. And excuse me, I gave you the wrong website. It's actually www.gearthinc.com. Okay. Go there, you'll see my ambassadors, you'll see some of the work that we do. You'll see that we're expanding, and we're definitely expanding in different countries on just the education piece of what we do.
Very good. Aaron, thank you very much
for
spending the last 45 minutes or so on this show, and of course sharing with us
thank you.
Your wisdom around circular economy, sustainable energy, as well as waste management.
Thank you, sir.
Your time is highly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. We've been talking to Aaron Phillips. He's a former manager with Tesla. He's now a champion of green sustainable energy as well as circular economy. Our conversation has been around how to deepen the circular economy concept here in Kenya, and how do we accelerate the adoption of sustainable energy here in Kenya at a time when next month, from the 4th to the 6th of September, more than 13,000 delegates from around the world will be converging here in Nairobi for the African Climate Summit. We'll be looking at the low-hanging fruits, which way for Kenya, and the kind of dialogues that will be taking place here. And you know what? That conversation is coming up next right here on Base Check. And also reminding you that KBC is going to be the state broadcaster, is going to be the official broadcaster of that major event. The next conversation is on African Climate Summit, which is taking place here in Nairobi. Stay right now.
Oh, I bet you must be scared to death with all the strange diseases around here.
Oh, let Anibal and Isabel do their thing. It's none of our business, Amparo.
Did you take her, yes or no?
Well, yes. But do you know why I took her?
Why?
I'm sorry, but you are not allowed to come into this house, so leave.
Madam, Danielle is expecting me.
Just go now. Mrs. Amparo doesn't want you here.
What are you talking about?
Oh, ask her yourself. Let's see if she has the nerve to do so.
Katika neema ambazo binadamu wamejaliwa na Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ambazo hazihesabiki, mojawapo ni maisha. Na wakati ambapo tunaamka tunapaswa kuomba dua ambayo ni alhamdulillahi alladhi ahyana ba'da ma amatana wa ilayhi an-nushur.
Leo ni wangapi Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala amewapa neema aina mbalimbali, huwezi kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Na kumshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu Subhanahu wa Ta'ala ni kusema alhamdulillah.
She hasn't just taken this title, She's absolutely obliterated the whole field. 3:52.96.
It's a big stage, big names and big expectations, and a massive celebration of athleticism. More than 2,000 athletes from over 200 countries will compete in 49 events. Drawing inspiration from past memorable outings, Team Kenya is looking ahead for a remarkable feat in the forthcoming World Athletics Championship in Budapest, Hungary, in Central Europe. Witness the wonders from Budapest, Hungary on 19th through to the 27th of August, live and exclusive on KBC Channel 1. KBC Channel 1, your true sports partner.
Mwishowe huwa kituo chako unachokienzi cha Minto FM kinatimiza miaka 12 tangu kilipoanza. Ili kuadhimisha siku hii, tunawaalika mashabiki wetu kujumuika nasi katika msururu wa roadshow utakaofanyika ndani ya kaunti ya Nyamira. Kutakuwa na burudani na vichekesho. Alhamisi tarehe 17 mwezi huu wa Agosti, msafara wa Minto FM utaanzia Kijauri, Keroka, Rigoma, Kemera, Kebirigo na kumalizia siku Nyaramba. Ijumaa tarehe 18, msafara huu utaanzia Ekerenyo, Ikonge, Nyamusi, Mawawa, Miruka, Nyamaya na kumalizia Nyabite. Jumamosi tarehe 19 tutatamatisha maadhimisho yetu kwa ibada ya shukrani katika kanisa la Nyamira Central SDA kuanzia saa 3 asubuhi. Njoo ukutane na watangazaji wako unaowaenzi. Minto ata 12 Gusi Neaito.
Very good. If you haven't heard this, I just want to alert you that Nairobi is playing host to the African Climate Summit. It is going to bring together more than 13,000 delegates from around the world. And actually yesterday I was talking to the CS Cabinet Secretary for Environment, Soipan Tuyen. She was actually telling me that more than 13 heads of states and governments, have confirmed their attendance to this meeting that is going to develop what is going to be dubbed as the Nairobi Declaration. Oh yeah. And this conversation is going to be upgraded and, of course, transmitted to the COP28, which is happening in Dubai. So this is going to be a major meeting of African minds, the best of brains, just coming together to discuss issues around climate change and how it is impacting Africa, bearing in mind that in terms of green gas emission, Africa is the least contributor in the world. Dr. Mwenda Mithika, is a seasoned expert on matters climate change. He's the Executive Director at Pan-African Climate Justice Alliance, and he's joining us now to share more insight on the upcoming conference, what we need to discuss, and the issues that are supposed to be handled. Thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning, Dr. First of all, I want to hear from you. Are you attending and participating in the conference?
Certainly, I'm not only attending, but we feel part of we want to be part of the summit in terms of designing even what you are calling the declaration, the Nairobi Declaration. So we are very critical stakeholders as the civil society. I represent the main non-state actors platform, that is non-state actors steering committee, bringing together all the actors which are non-governmental, that is faith-based organizations. In that committee we have the farmers organizations, and this is across Africa. We have the indigenous people. We have the main international civil society organizations. We have the trade unions. We have the African section of African private sector. We have the young people. We have those who work on biodiversity. We have up to 11 clusters of non-state actors bringing together thousands and thousands of actors, because we feel that this process, much as it is going to be more driven by government, the input of the people, as you have rightly said, the issue of climate change is so important that it cannot be left to only one stakeholder group. We need really to hear the voice of the people, particularly the people at the front line of climate crisis, because they are the most affected. So it is an opportunity for us as Africans to be heard. And when this summit was conceptualized by the African Union, by the way, it is the African Union summit being hosted by the government of Kenya, among other partners. And when it was being conceptualized by the African Union, as really we have been putting pressure to the African Union and African institutions to really provide a forum, a platform for Africans really to articulate their issues, to come together and unify their voices in terms of really consolidating themselves and their voices and their efforts, so that when we go into international conferences like the COP, really we are speaking into one voice. In fact, I'm very happy because of the enthusiasm which we are received in terms of responses. I'm just from AMSEN, Africa Ministerial Conference on the Environment meeting, and we could hear the way everyone is really excited about this conference, because it's the first real convergence of Africans really bringing ourselves in such a forum, really to say this is what we want to see the world doing in terms of adapting to climate change, in terms of building resilience of communities at the front line of climate crisis, in terms of mitigating the effects of climate change, reducing the greenhouse gases, and then what finances, where do we get the money to deal with all these issues? Of course, there are so many contentious issues at the global level. So we are going to define as Africa, where do we stand on these issues? Are we responsible? And those who are responsible, what is their role? There is international convention, the UNFCCC, United Nations Convention on Climate Change. There is also the Paris Agreement. And what we are implementing, the NDCs, National Determined Contribution, the investment tools as a result of the Paris Agreement, which each country like Kenya has said we are going to do this in the agricultural sector, in the livestock sector, in the waste management, in the energy sector, in the transport sector. So this issue of climate change goes beyond that limited space of environment and science, what has been happening.
What meeting? And experts are saying that this is some sort of a COP for Africa.
Yes.
And this meeting is going to set the ground for the issues that are also going to be discussed at the COP28, which is happening in Dubai And bearing in mind that you attended the SB 58, which is the technical team that is supposed to craft a text that is going to be discussed at the COP28, is it too late for Africa to be meeting now to try and come up with an agenda that will be discussed at COP28?
You know, the international dialogue process and any negotiations which has high stakes as climate change is quite a very complex issue. It is a give and a take process. And so I cannot say that we are late. The conversation continues. I think even after that, we have got other platforms which are going to continue with the discourse process. And so any opportunity for us where we can bring, particularly us as Africans, together, really to strengthen our voice, is a welcome move. That's why we welcome this summit. But our hope as the civil society is that it is not going to be just limited to the leaders. We need to see the voices of the people there. We need to see the voice of the faith communities. We need to see the voices of the indigenous people at very local level. We need to hear the voice of the young people. We need to hear the voice of smallholder farmers and everybody who is affected. And so that is where we are. I know there are a lot of things which are happening now, but I'm sure at the end of the day, this is going to be, the Nairobi Declaration will be a declaration which is going to be owned by everybody across Africa.
Very good. If you're just joining us, I mean, we are having this conversation on the upcoming African Climate Summit. We are in the company of Dr. Mithika Mwenda, and our conversation revolves around the conversation that will take place here in Nairobi. I want to hear this from you. You know, when you look at, you know, the proposed Nairobi Declaration, and I'm sure that you know that there have been a number of declarations that have been issued in the past. How then do we make these Nairobi Declaration, you know, count on matters climate change?
I'm very happy that you have seen there are many other declarations which have come. And at the civil society, just to give to take you back, I'm just from the AMSEN, because AMSEN, those are ministers for environment who meet annually, and every time they meet, and in the other forum, including the African Union, including the United Nations, and everywhere, every time we make declarations and decisions are made. The problem which we have been having with these decisions is the implementation. So they are plethora every year. They are declarations. But so what we're asking is, yes, we are going to have the Nairobi Declaration. Are we going to have it? Will it be implemented? How far will it take us in consolidating the African voice? So to us, it's not just the issue of having the Nairobi Declaration. How acceptable is it going to be? How are we going, all of us, to own it and say, wherever I'm going, I say, this is the Nairobi Declaration, it was universally accepted, and this is where the document, the declaration, we are taking everywhere. And that's why we are challenging our leaders, including the president, who is the host, that we really need to see everybody involved. Of course, perhaps you have seen some grumbling here and there that there are section of stakeholder groups which feels excluded. But we know that it is not too late. I know he's making every effort to ensure that everybody is involved. We know even the interest at play within the organizing of this, because these are a very serious global issue. Everyone wants their piece of it. And so what we are saying is the Nairobi Declaration, and even this process, you know, the outcome of a process is as good or as bad as the beginning, and as its process. And so what we are saying is, we have time really to put what is right for Africa, what is inclusive for Africa. Do we build the ownership for everybody? I saw at the ministerial, actually, and when the director Pacifica was presenting at the AMSEN, the update.
Yeah, I want you to hold your thoughts here, because we need to go to Kisii now, and then we come back and we have more conversation on how to build an all-inclusive Nairobi declaration, ensuring that we do not leave anyone behind. Well, if you're just joining us, our conversation this morning is around the upcoming African Climate Summit, which is taking place here in Nairobi from the 4th to the 6th of September. More than 13,000 delegates coming for this conference, and of course, at the culmination, there will be the Nairobi Declaration. And so, how do we make that document count? How do we as Africa push that document to become the proper climate representation voice for Africa? That is a conversation that we are having here with Dr. Mwenda Mithika. I told you we have our teams, all over the country, and of course we are keeping an eye on what's happening in Kisii. Remember, our mentor station, yes, that is one of the leading Abagusi radio station here in Kenya. And of course, it is celebrating its 10th anniversary. Well, the anniversary is taking place in Kisii County, and of course our reporter Kasichana is of course following up on that. So we shall be going to Kisii, at some point during this broadcast, and of course we also have our eyes on what's happening in Eldoret, that is US and Gishu County, where the Devolution conference is currently underway. So. Let's hear from Kasichana now. Kasichana, if you can hear me, tell us now what is the mood like there? And of course, I can see you're surrounded by hundreds of people who are very, very happy and excited that the station is celebrating. The Minto FM is celebrating this critical anniversary. Tell us more about the event in Kisii.
Thank you so much. Back from studio from the broadcasting house in Nairobi. We are live in County 46. This is Nyamira County, and fans here are super excited to meet with their presenters. What are we in Nyamira County today? Minto FM, this is KBC, one of the affiliated radio stations of KBC Channel 1, are celebrating 12th anniversary. Yeah, if it was a baby today, we could say that he or she could be in class 4 today, but Minto FM celebrating their 12th anniversary in Nyamira County, where they saw it better, or they saw it well, to come to celebrate this day, this special event with their fans. So with me here today, I have the head of the radio stations, who have also been the founders of this station. So maybe let's get to hear from them. How has the journey been? What are the challenges that they've been facing so far, all through, and what are they doing to Nyamira County? Bosire.
Yes.
Yes, how are you?
I'm fine.
Yes, what are we doing in Nyamira County?
We are here to celebrate our 12th anniversary and meet our fans. We love them so much. They have been supporting us for the last 12 years, since 20 July. And we have been doing it annually. Last year we were in Kisii County. This time around we are in Nyamira County. We want to listen to them, what they think about our content, and what we expect from them. Of course, supporting us, and we wish that they continue supporting us. They have made us number 1 as per the rating. So we are here to meet, and when you meet, you interact a lot. They open up, they share with us. We will also share with them our expectations and of course, challenges. So we are here to show them how we value them. And we will continue valuing them as long as they continue supporting us. The journey has not been so easy. That competition out there, so many radio stations. But the good thing is, with these fans, we are always on the top, and we will continue. We will continue being on the top with our fans. So for today, this is our starting point. We are going to make a number of stopovers. This is Kijauri in Nyamira County. From here, we are going to make another 5 stopovers, engage with our listeners, celebrate our listeners as they continue supporting us. Yes.
Thank you. So today we are going to conduct in various areas in Nyamira County. So maybe while you conduct these road shows, maybe are you giving out gifts, or what maybe are you giving away to your presenters who have come out in large numbers just to come celebrate this special day with you?
Yeah, of course, the aprons, we have the and the t-shirts. So far back in studio, we are giving money, 1,000 per show. Once you answer why we are out here to celebrate our 12th year in broadcasting, and actually better in our content when it comes to farming, when it comes to road safety, women development.
Okay, so maybe how many days are we going to camp in Nyamira County?
We are going to be for the next Nyamira County. We have a large number of fans, and then on Saturday we are going to be at Nyamira Central. They have a camp meeting there, and then we are going to tell thank you for the 12 years. Actually, we've come so far, and nowadays we have reporters, online platforms, that is WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, podcast, and others. I think that was not there in the past. Okay. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So here we have a few of the fans who have come out in large numbers just to celebrate this special with Minto FM presenter. Sana mzee, tuambie jina lako na tuambie umekuwa miaka mingapi?
Mimi kwa majina ni Benson Yandolo Masaizi. I've been a fan for at least 5 years now. Nimekuwa nikipanda ndege pale nikipata habari, na kutokana na wito ambao mmetuita hapa, najua watu wetu wako hapa wengi, akina Masengenye, akina Stella, Umwenga, kuna Mary, ni watu kwetu hapa. Wanatufanya sisi tukae pale na tunachangia, na mashindano yanakuwa pale, ingawaje sichakuwa chosen nipate kakitu, huwa nashiriki kila mara. And I'm expecting one of nitapata kitu kutoka Minto FM. Na Minto FM heko na muendelee vile vile.
Okay, pengine niulize tu, pengine unajihisi vipi siku ya leo kwamba umeweza kuonana ana kwa ana na baadhi ya watangazaji ambao umekuwa tukiweza kuwasikiliza kwa redio?
Nimefurahi sana. Maana kuna baadhi ya wale ambao
Well, that is our reporter there, Kasichana, engaging with the public in Nyamira County, where our sister station, Minto FM, is celebrating its 12th anniversary. I had told you 10th. No, it is 12th anniversary, and they're in Nyamira County. We'll be having more from Kasichana there, and of course we'll be tracking to see how these celebrations are panning out. But now I want to go to Radisson Blue, where the Nielsen IQ is having a briefing on the prevailing macro economic situation in the country, and of course advising our clients and consumers on how to navigate the prevailing tough times. Our reporter there is Karen Jenga. She's about to give us an update. Karen, if you can hear me, what do we need to know from Nielsen IQ?
Well, thank you, Brian. As you've rightly put it, here we're having conversations with Nielsen IQ and top manufacturers on how to navigate the uncertain times from a retail and consumer perspective. And to elaborate more and to break it down for us, I'm joined by the MD East and Eastern Africa right here at Nielsen IQ to maybe tell us more on how consumers have been spending in the last 1 year and how retailers can also navigate in this uncertain times. So if you can just join me here and you can just start by telling us your name and tell us what Nielsen IQ is all about, and also tell us the conversation today on how retailers can navigate this uncertain times.
So thank you for that. My name is Faith Wanderi. I'm the Managing Director for East and West Africa for Nielsen IQ. Today we're having a breakfast to discuss data analytics, which for us we are launching it for the first time in East and West Africa, whereby we are actually putting together data from both the consumer and the retail space. So you talked about consumer shifts, and over the last 1 year, and even pre-COVID, we've seen there's a lot of shifts in terms of their spending behaviors, in terms of the channels that they're going to purchase their goods, and even in terms of brand switching, you know. So we were just sharing that with the top manufacturers in Kenya.
And what was maybe what you found out once you did the survey or the study? I saw there have been switch of brands. Consumers are no longer loyal to one brand. Maybe you can tell us more about the percentage in terms of how consumers are spending.
So from the data of the research that we did, we found that for every 7 out of 10 consumers, they've actually shifted their brands in the last 1 year. And this is a recent study that we carried out like 3 months ago, which just tells you with the inflation, with the price and the high cost of living, price has also become a very determinant factor in terms of their consideration in terms of what brand that they're using. We also looked at what categories. So you find like cooking oil and flour have the highest brand switching behavior vis-a-vis soft drinks, which is the lowest at 12%.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what of maybe from a retailer perspective, what can they do now to navigate through this difficult times?
From what we're looking at from a data analytics point of view, pricing, you need to understand, are you actually pricing your goods at the right price, which is all about elasticity. We're talking about distribution, are you in the right stores that are giving you the highest return on investment. And then also, most importantly, you also have to look at innovation and how you're actually activating your brands.
Okay. Also from the consumer, I've seen most consumers are considering maybe shops that have discounts or shops that have loyalty cards. Is this a trend that you've seen across all products?
I think the question is more of where is the consumer shopping today? And yes, there's a shift because it's not our like modern trade and our kiosk and dukas. People are also looking at value. So you can find the wholesale sector is also growing, and branded brands. It's also a consideration in terms of because they're looking for value. So with that, I think talk to us as Nielsen IQ and we can give you more data on that.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, that has been the MD for East and Western here at Nielsen IQ talking to us about some of the various insights they have seen across the retail and consumer sector. Back to you in studio, Brian.
Karen Jenga, they are coming to us live from Radisson Blue Hotel here in Nairobi, where that conversation by Nielsen IQ is taking place on the prevailing macroeconomic environment here in Kenya. We are back in studio with Dr. Mwenda Mithika. He's the Executive Director of Pan-African Climate Justice. Our conversation this morning is the upcoming African Climate Summit, the way forward. Before we went for that break, we were talking about how to make the Nairobi Declaration more inclusive and to make the voice of Africa on matters climate change. And we are talking about inclusivity. Please pick it up from there.
Yeah, so before you cut me off, so I was just giving you an illustration of how, contentious issues are in terms of the global geopolitical interactions. Mm-hmm. And so it's not going, and it will never be easy to develop such a document because it has a lot of interest at play. Mm-hmm. But as civil society, and we have raised this, is how implementable are some of the decisions which our leaders pass every time. Every year we have the Africa Ministerial Conference on the Environment happening, like it is happening in Addis Ababa. And definitely they will come out with a very good recommendations. We have attended several conferences, like even COPs, and many other, forums like that. Mm-hmm. The concern which we have been having is, why are we having so many meetings? If we can implement even decisions of one forum, mm-hmm. I can assure you we will not be where we are. So we need really commitment of leaders, mm-hmm. Particularly the political leaders, that they have to commit themselves that whatever, for instance, will come out of Nairobi will be binding for everyone in Africa, mm-hmm. and we are going to implement, because even the NDCs have seen the
nationally determined
actions,
mm-hmm.
which we are supposed as countries to undertake as Paris Agreement to really meet a particular threshold on emission reduction and building resilience of communities. And so If you look at it now, we are at the process right now as we are speaking. We are in what we call the GST, Global Stocktake. That is reviewing since the adoption of the Paris Agreement in France in 2015. We are now 7 years. And so climate is becoming, there has been several reports, including the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, which is the latest, which came out in March. It is telling us it is really worsening. Look at across the world, including Europe, where there is a lot of wildfires, and torrential rainfall, like what has been happening for 4 consecutive seasons in the Horn of Africa, drought which has never been before. So we are asking, why then are we meeting and we know the problem? It's because we don't look at even what we agree on. If you look at the decisions and what we agreed in Paris, we could not be having the problem because we know and we agreed on the milestones which we have to meet. So to us, what we want is, yes, let us agree on that declaration.
Yes.
Let this not be any other jamboree. When I was, we were with the Excellency, the President, in South Africa during the Pan-African Parliamentarian Summit on Climate Policy and Equity, which we hosted with the Pan-African Parliament. We actually congratulated him for hosting this all-important summit. But we say we also qualified this. We hope it is not going to be any other.
To be another talk show.
Another talk show.
For people to come and discuss.
We continue saying that. Let us have a different summit. Let us have a Nairobi summit, which people not quickly forget.
Tell me this, and I like the fact that you are talking about how do we make the upcoming the upcoming African Climate Summit, count for Africa in terms of climate change issues. When you look at the upcoming summit, the summit has been organized around 5 key thematic areas, and we are talking about energy transition, green minerals and manufacturing, sustainable agriculture and land use, sustainable infrastructure, as well as natural capital. These 5 issues, or these 5 thematic areas, do you feel in your capacity as an expert on climate matters, do you feel they capture the needs of Africa?
The framing of the summit itself, the President says, as the Chair of Committee of Heads of States and Governments on Climate Change, and the Voice of Africa, alongside others, that we have to change the narrative. Because to them and to him, we have been having several conferences, and they have never had any, impact. And so that's the framing. But the negotiations have their own framework.
Yep.
Of course, we need to change the way to have the African narratives on really the way we approach the climate discourse process, because mostly it is really, we have said, it is designed and framed in the context of the North, whose context does not apply for Africa. But when we look at that, a section of stakeholders, particularly as somehow very uncomfortable with that kind of agenda, because the priorities for Africa, for instance, when I listen to those main issues of discussion, and I don't find adaptation there. I don't find how we are going to build the resilience of communities at the front line of climate crisis, then I get worried.
Because there is the issues of adaptation and climate financing are not captured.
They are there, but you see, when you make something, they are saying, like adaptation is a cross-cutting issue. When you make something cross-cutting, it is not here nor there. So it is not the main thing. But in Africa, and these are issues which are even being raised, not only as us as the civil society, but even the African group of negotiators, it is being raised by everybody, because we may really veer off the course. I think that this is going to be a document for the COP and negotiation to deliver during the COP28. There are issues which we may carry, then actually they are instantly rejected because there is a framework. There is no way a meeting of 5 days can all consolidate what has been done for that years. It can only build on that.
It can only build on that.
That is what we have been saying, that in due respect of what is proposed, we need really to build on really make, for instance, business keys out of this. We make to turn really climate challenges, which we have looked at as challenges, into opportunities.
Very well.
We have been trying to do that. But the problem is, are we the problem? Some people are talking about that we should not look at ourselves as victims. We really need to be solution makers. I can assure you, those smallholder farmers at the very local level have been actually solution providers. You are talking about the youths whom you hosted here. What ideas do you hear from them? They have all the solutions. What they do not have is means of support. How do we support them, their innovations at local level, on water, on food, on agriculture, and many other innovations which they have? That's what we have to be discussing. So when we divert and start talking about issues which are very difficult, and some of them are really designed, we feel, not from where we sit, then we have a problem.
Very good. Tell me this. The African group of negotiators, have been at the forefront of trying to capture the needs of Africa in terms of climate change and advancing the agenda of Africa, at the global level. Are they part of this conversation? And once the conversations are held here in Nairobi, how are they going to be captured in the African group of negotiators?
I met the chair of African group of negotiators in Addis Ababa. Mwepia Shitma. He is a Zambian. And truly, when you listen to him, you feel that there is a disconnect. I met several negotiators. Remember, once this document is developed, the people who eventually pick it and go and ensure that it is put within the framework of the negotiations are these negotiators. And they have a very strong process and very elaborate process. And so when you listen to him and he feels that they have not been included, then there is a problem.
There's a problem.
And so I have seen, I left Ambassador and the PS Ali in Addis Ababa is doing the consultations. So what we want to urge them, I am interested in the success of this summit. And that's how we have stated as this platform which we have. And it is our interest, first as a Kenyan and as an African, that this really succeeds. But so that when we raise issues, let us not be seen as if we are criticizing for no apparent reason, or we want to do it just for the sake. It is our interest, and we believe that in very good faith, the president has got really a good vision for us, but really we need to listen to each other. We have not seen that.
And that is what needs to happen.
Yes.
So that we can build up a conversation that is inclusive and brings together all the stakeholders on the table. In 30 seconds, what is your message to the organizers of this event?
My message to the organizers, let us be inclusive and let us work together. We as non-state actors have organized ourselves, and it is our desire. And we have the expertise really to make this event a success. And we want to work together. I know we are applying for many events. We are working together, and I believe that it is not too late that we are going to sit and agree, ensure that each of us is involved and feels confidently that he is part of this process.
Very good. And I'm sure the message is home because the organizers are listening.
Sure.
Very good. And we look forward to a successful meeting that will be a platform for Africa to develop the agenda that is going to advance to the world when it comes to matters climate change.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Brian.
Mwenda, thank you. And asante sana for joining us.
Thank you.
Dr. Mwenda Mithika is a spoken voice on matters climate change. And of course, joining us this morning to talk about the upcoming African Climate Summit, which is happening here in Nairobi. And I've been telling you this, that KBC is going to be the official broadcaster of this event. So from now going forward, expect a lot of conversations around climate change. The kind of conversation that we have been having here is going to be increased in intensity. My name is O'Brien Kimani. You have been watching Base Check. Now it's 12:01 and time now for Tamurini. On behalf of the entire Base Check crew, thank you very much for your company. We'll see you again on Thursday. Stay tuned for better conversations right here on KBC Channel 1. Kurunzi Mashinani is coming up next. Thank you.
Estaré contigo. Oh, I bet you must be scared to death with all the strange diseases around here.
Oh, let Anibalin